Hey guys, it's Eshani, aka Total Makeup Junkie 101. So today I'm going to be doing the much anticipated review video on the new Huda Beauty eyeshadow palette. This is the Desert Dusk palette, and so many of you guys have asked me to review this and let you know if I thought it was worth the hype. And as many of you guys know, I did review the original Huda Beauty textured rose gold edition palette. If you guys have followed my channel or have seen this video of mine, you know I really wasn't a fan of this. I honestly didn't like anything from the packaging to the quality of the actual product. However, when I saw the new Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette kind of being teased on Instagram, I was interested because I really fell in love with the color selection. And little did I know that she actually upgraded her packaging significantly. The original palette just came in a sleeve and it looks like this. It honestly looks and feels like a really cheap Z palette. However, this new Desert Dusk palette actually comes in a really pretty box, and this is the actual palette. It's a gorgeous kind of mattified cardboard palette. You can see the details of this artwork do have some metallic in it. So it's a really unique effect because the metallic does pop, although the palette is still matte. Absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. I think this is just gorgeously packaged. It does have some nice weight to it, unlike the original palette, which was pretty flimsy in my opinion. The palette does have a magnetic closure. You can see there is a really generous sized mirror, and then there is this little film, which is actually really cute, of Huda's eyes. And then as you guys can see, you get 18 eyeshadows. And just to let you guys know, the overall sizing of the old Huda palette and the new one is exactly the same, and the way the shadows are all laid out is really similar as well. This new Desert Dusk palette does retail for $65, which is the same price that the textured rose gold palette did. $65 is quite pricey for an eyeshadow palette. I feel like most of the high-end eyeshadow palettes we see are in the $50 range, so $65 is definitely up there. I purchased my palette off of the Sephora website. If you were to purchase directly from the Huda Beauty website, they do ship from Dubai. That's where I purchased the original palette from, but I like that you can now get this at Sephora. I just find it more convenient. Now, in terms of the actual shadow selection, I absolutely fell in love with the colors in here because while you are getting some warm colors, you're definitely getting some purples and some golds, which really gives this palette a unique, warm, and cool twist to it. When I look at the color selection in this palette, it really does remind me of a sunset, because generally sunsets have some pinkies, some kind of coppers, some purples, and this is just a really beautiful blend of all of that. Now, before I talk about the quality of these shadows as well as the different textures you get in this palette and my experience using it, let's just go ahead and jump right into swatches of everything you get in here. So here we have the top row of shadows swatched. From left to right, we have Desert Sand, Musk, Eden, Amber, Blood Moon, and Oud. Here we have the second row swatch. From left to right, we have Celestial, Nefertiti, Twilight, Amethyst, Royal, and Retrograde. And here we have the final row swatch. From left to right, we have Cashmere, Angelic, Cosmo, Turkish Delight, Saffron, and Blazing. So now that you guys have seen the swatches, let's just go ahead and run down the different textures within this palette. So the first texture we'll go ahead and discuss are the mattes. There are 8 buttery matte shades. You have the top 4 here. This one, and then these last 2. Now, I will say, at least from my experience, these mattes are quite different from the mattes that were in this rose gold palette. I really wasn't a fan of these matte shadows. I thought they were very average, but I actually really enjoy these. When you swatch them in a concentrated swatch, they almost don't look completely matte. They almost seem to have a little bit of like a shimmer. It's not enough shimmer, and it's not very pronounced shimmer to actually call it a shimmer. I mean, even if you were to look at some of these up close in the pan, I mean, it's a very very subtle sheen. I actually think that helps these blend beautifully. All of these mattes are wonderfully pigmented. They blend out just phenomenally. I haven't had any issues upon application. I haven't had any blending issues. They don't get muddy, they don't get patchy, they don't look chalky. They are really, really pretty. I will say the one maybe con is that they do have a good amount of kick up. So if you were to stick a really fluffy brush in these mattes, they are going to produce some fallout. You might get some fallout on your face depending on the brushes you use to apply. But other than that, I really, really love the mattes. So the next finish I want to discuss is what she calls her pressed pearls. So we have these two here, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Those are the 6 pressed pearls within this palette. And I will say the pressed pearls to me just remind me of a traditional metallic eyeshadow. There is one that I feel like is a little bit more difficult to use, and that would be Nefertiti right here. That one does have a little bit of actual chunks of golden glitter. None of the other pressed pearls have any glitter in it, and I will say that that one with the glitter is a little bit drier as well. But for the most part, the pressed pearls are really, really pretty. I haven't had any issues using them with my fingers or with flat brushes. I've been packing them all over the lid. They deliver a lot of color. They don't make your eyes look crepey. They are really, really nice to use. They blend out beautifully. Again, no issues with the pressed pearls. All right, the next finish I want to talk about are the duochrome toppers. There are 3 of them. We have this one, and this one on the end. Now the duochrome toppers kind of remind me of a cross between an Urban Decay Moondust shadow and a traditional metallic shadow. I feel like they hang together a little bit better than an Urban Decay Moondust. With a Moondust shadow, I always have to use some type of glitter glue because it's essentially a pressed glitter. I don't feel like these are quite as chunky as a pressed glitter, but they definitely could use a glitter glue to really get maximum impact. Pretty much every time I've used those duochrome toppers, I do put down a glitter glue, like the Too Faced glitter glue, for example, because I feel like it really helps these stick to the eye and deliver the most amount of duochrome and pigment. And as stated, these are duochrome toppers. So these are kind of sheer. They definitely benefit from being topped over other shadows. If you want the maximum amount of duochrome out of these, definitely top them over a darker base, like a black or a dark brown base. That's really how you're gonna get the duochrome to pop a lot more. But if you still wanna give your eye look a little bit of dimension and duochrome, but not have it just pop super brightly, definitely top these over a little bit of a lighter or more subdued base, and that duochrome won't pop quite as much. I will say I was a little bit worried about the duochrome shades because just from the descriptions, they kind of reminded me of these textured foiled shadows in this palette, and you guys know I really did not enjoy those. As long as you know how to use these duochrome toppers, they're really, really pretty. I actually do have retrograde on today, just patted a little bit on the outer portion of my lid, and I just love it. Okay, and then the final finish in this palette is a straight up pressed glitter, and that would be this color right down here. I know if you were looking at this palette, I feel like this is the color your eye automatically goes to because it really does have the look and appearance of a pressed textured glitter. I will say that one was actually easier for me to use than I expected. Going into it, I thought that was going to be a complete and total nightmare and a wreck. But again, as long as I used a glitter glue and I pat it on with my finger and I patted it on kind of gently and lightly and didn't like cake it on, I had no issues with it. It really wasn't a problem. You just have to know that that's a pressed glitter and you have to use a glitter glue. Now, if you went into that color with a brush, you're gonna get a mess. If you went into that color without a glitter glue, you're not gonna have it stick to your eye. You have to use your finger, you have to pat it over a glitter glue, but if you do that, it works really well. So kind of rounding out my thoughts on this palette, as you guys can tell, I really like it. It was a huge improvement from the original palette. I mean, just leaps and bounds better. If you guys gave me this palette to try and then gave me this palette and didn't tell me they were from the same company, I absolutely never would have guessed. This palette was one of the biggest disappointments ever, and this palette, I mean, I'm gonna be reaching for this all the stinking time. I've done multiple looks with this palette and just using this palette, not pulling in anything else, and have had no issues using it. I am incredibly impressed. I am very happy that I gave another Huda Beauty eyeshadow palette a try, because after that textured rose gold fiasco, I really was iffy about this one, but this was a complete and total win. Now, with all of that being said, let me quickly go ahead and do a side-by-side for you guys of the textured rose gold palette next to the new Desert Dusk palette, just so you guys can see the color variation. There is one shade that is repeated in both of these palettes, and that is the shade Angelic. It's this kind of duochrome pinky golden shade, and it is in both of these palettes. Other than that, there isn't anything that is replicated, so that's nice. Now, quickly wrapping up this review with a little bit of housekeeping information. First off, let's talk about the price per gram. In this palette, you are getting 25.2 grams of product total. If you divide that by the 18 colors you're getting, that means that you are getting 1.4 grams in each of these pans. And then dividing the 25.2 grams you get total into the $65 you're paying for this palette, that means that you're paying $2.58 per gram for this palette. I believe that's actually a much better deal than what you were getting in the original palette. And honestly, anything in the $2 price range per gram is actually a really great deal. It's definitely not like a steal by any means, but for a high-end palette, that is not a ripoff. That's actually a fantastic value. So yeah, basically everything in this new palette was upgraded, and thankfully so. The packaging is just absolutely a hit out of the park. The quality of every single texture of shadow in here is fantastic, and you get more product than you did in the original as well. So basically, I love this palette. I'm very happy with it. I highly recommend it. So that is pretty much all I have to say on the new Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. If you guys have any other questions, please be sure to let me know in the comments down below. In case you guys didn't know yet, I did start my own makeup line called Rani Cosmetics. We have 6 lipsticks and 6 liquid lipsticks, which you can shop through that link up there. I'll also go ahead and put a subscribe link to my channel right down there for you. But that is everything. Thank you guys so much for your love and support. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video on Thursday. I'll see you then. Bye!